Alright. We got 2 boxes and other stuff that arrived a lot earlier. I don't know. It can be really hard to get the preparation on this started for some reason. So, there we go. Look, this one is not anime. It is Attack on Titan Volume 25. Yay! And let's get this back out for this. Yeah, there's some stuff I kind of mentioned last week that not everything shipped because for whatever reason Discotek is releasing a ton of stuff. It's like they're going through a huge backlog of things that nobody released on Blu-ray. Do want to be careful because this feels packed enough that I'm fairly certain there's going to be anime just underneath. And I don't want to cut them. This thing's packed. Okay, let's see. And of course, like I said, that's not all because there's this big pile of stuff. So, Jesus, let's begin. First, we have Haruka Nogizaki's Secret, and second season, Haruka Nogizaki's Secret Purezza. You can see this one's already open. I see a region A. It's Japanese with English subtitles. Okay. So I was kind of curious about this because I was deliberately not reading what it was about, and I was just kind of thinking, this angle kind of shows it too. The way she's designed with a kind of flatter face like that, it almost struck me as potentially... It almost looked like it could have intentionally been a guy dressed as a girl. Her figure otherwise isn't like that, but it occurred to me that it was just trolly enough looking that it could have been. So I just kind of put it on. I've watched 4 episodes of it, but I will cover that later when I talk about the stuff I watched. That's why that one's open, and as you can see there's the one disc, and it's all stuff. And it's good to, you know, sometimes watch stuff from Discotek just because, you know, they release plenty of good stuff, even though there's a lot of stuff that they've released that's stuff that's come out before, but DVD only, and they're releasing a Blu-ray version. And they're being simple with some of their DVD releases. I'm guessing with the ones I was commenting last week that some of them seemed like they shouldn't have, they should be SD BDs. No, that's a weird one. Oh well, stuff. It's supposed to be the same girl. That's a completely different one, right? Who the hell is she? I guess this series has a ways to go in terms of introducing all of its characters. Choosing and ordering for this stuff. Yeah, fuck it. We'll just go with Clockwork Planet is next. This one was kind of surprised me. I would have expected this to have arrived last week with everything else. Regions A and B, English dub. Interesting artwork, but I don't know if conceptually it's gonna live up to how it looks. And not on their watch. But it's, you know, at about the right place of being intriguing. So let's see. Interesting. So I guess you have 2 red discs and then 2 DVD discs. So red rays and DVD. Yep. That's definitely the way to interpret all that stuff. I guess before I dig into this, I wanted to double check because They've been doing this weird thing. Basically, I'm double checking to make sure there should be another one, because I don't think I ripped it, but I remember seeing it in a pile. I'm seeing only Blu-rays, so I can't help but think there should be a DVD version of it here, which I don't see. Did I rip it? Oh well. Worst case, I accidentally got this second Blu-ray one, but I suspect I got a DVD version before, or maybe I pre-ordered. Maybe I didn't have this before. Maybe I pre-ordered a Blu-ray version now and then the DVD version. Yeah, of course, because this is end of June stuff, so I probably pre-ordered DVD version coming out later this month. This very separate DVD Blu-ray release date is so confusing. Based on the back, I see region A. I do see English audio for some reason. That whatever the hell this is. This appealing kitty will drive you bananas. Why is it a cat that's a banana? Especially since it doesn't seem like as weird as like a soda can turning into a girl, and it's a battle between tin cans and aluminum cans. So that's really bonkers. This, I don't know what to make of this just yet. The only way I would know is by watching it, and there's 13 episodes. The kitty who lives in a banana. So, but it's not the kitty. It's one of many kitties, because that looks like a kitty, kitty, kitty. So the kitties that live in bananas, plural. Oh well. Next up we got Lupin the Third. Bye bye Lady Liberty. And I don't remember if we got a DVD version of this lying around, or Blu-ray version. This is so confusing. I mean, like, I'm opening it up right now. I'm looking over my shoulder and trying to think, what the hell did I have over there again? This one maybe I didn't have before. It's in Crisis. Is this Goodbye for Lady Liberty? Oh well, just Discotek continuing their release of Lupin the Third stuff. It is very nice of them. It is very good. Oh, and, I see English audio. Region A. So not as easily imported. Doesn't mean it isn't importable, it's just that, you know, you might have to go through slightly more. Oh, that guy looks really like a ghost. Ish. There's the other cover if you prefer that. It's really quite unfortunate that I just don't feel like I have the time to watch absolutely everything I want to, because these look good, but for some reason I extra easily put movies off. I mean, I haven't even watched A Witch's Flower. But we got Lupin the Third, Part 4, Italian Adventures. This is DVD version. I think I already have the Blu-ray version. Yeah, I see it in the stack of things to file away, whereas this is DVD. Yeah, this is what's hard about being a collector and having to keep track of these. So sometimes it feels like it's hard. And who wants things in life to be hard? Okay, careful discs. They're flying out there. There we go, discs. And the invertible cover if I wanted this to look like the slipcover. You know, the one that's off to the side of the camera just because these piles are so tall. Next up, In Another World with My Smartphone, which sounds like a fun idea. I'm the fucking hell do I have here? Is this a complete collection or part? This looks like a complete collection. It's just that they don't say complete anymore. Anyways, I see a region A and a B there, and I see an English dub there, and two girls hugging a kitty for some reason. A turtle with a snake? No. Maybe that's not a turtle with a snake. Oh well, let's see if I can figure out how to open this, because there's clearly two separate things here. So I probably got a limited edition, you know, like I tend to for a lot of things. And now let's see. So that I can put that aside for now. This came with people. Came with a little glue, as would be expected. I don't want to throw this on the ground, so in the trash can. We got this, which is basically faded versions of that, which means whatever makes this limited edition probably has to do with whatever is in here. Oh, there's a little cat thingy. Is that the only thing? Maybe so. Maybe not. Maybe so. Huh. That is weird. That's a lot of packaging just to include that. If it was supposed to include other stuff, well, I guess didn't get the other stuff because I don't care. This is what I'm really after, is the DVD. She has glove fist things, and the other girl has a wand. A lot of character designs. And it looks neat, of course. Was this on top? I think that was on top because it's bent weird. Now we're looking at what is probably closer to the release. The normal release. Alright, we had the two Blu-rays and we have DVD 1, DVD 2. So another anime with another fun name. I didn't try to put that thing back in there. Oh, I'll worry about that later. Magic of Stella, and I think this is Sentai. Yeah, this is Sentai. So I'm not going to try and look for DVD because it's probably just this region A, Japanese with English subtitles. And then on the inside we have a disc 1. Something about the character design, especially this girl, looks familiar, but I can't place it. Might not have been something I've necessarily seen before. Don't know what to make of this. I see a musical instrument there, but that's the only one maybe, so this is maybe more people going to school. Okay, playing games, making them. Okay, that's the curiosity. Gundam Age Memory of Eden. Oh look, I thought there might be a DVD version in here. Unless these are both, but probably not. I see a region A there. Audio is Japanese, so it looks like this is Japanese with English subtitles. Oh, come on, you piece of crap. No wonder, I think it's sticking a little bit there, so it just kind of going whatever way it wanted to, not whatever way was most convenient for actually getting this thing open. Oh well. Oh yeah, I got a bunch of other Gundam Age stuff recently, didn't I? So that's why I've got Gundam Age stuff here. Huh. Oh, and I guess I do have this on DVD and Blu-ray, and that came on separate DVD and Blu-ray. What I don't remember is if there was a dub. We don't get the perfect rip-off. Which I'm only calling it that because it sounds stupid. In reality, I don't know. Maybe all this anime would be considered rip-offs to y'all. I don't know. Mech in the background. Two people who look like they are rival-ish. And this one's probably actually the same. Except there's still plastic on the bottom of this damn thing. There we go. I will hunt them down later. But unlike the glue, they will they could be easily vacuumed up or something. Alright. Next up, we have the Blu-ray release of Something Blue Flower. Sweet Blue Flowers. Or at least I think maybe there wasn't a DVD release of this before. It looks familiar. I think there was, but as curious as I am about the series, I mean, basically something about the series looks familiar in terms of wanting to watch it. And I can't help but think that, yeah, okay, I've wanted to watch this, but somehow never have. Underneath this questionnaire we have disc 1, disc 2, and it's a otherwise simple box with actually really neat watercolor art here on the discs. And where is that watercolor? It definitely has that vibe the way the bushes are. Next up we've got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I saw another part of it here, set 2, because I don't think I had a set 2 before. This says Blu-ray, this says nothing. I see a 1 there and a DVD there, and a there, and well, I was gonna say I don't see it saying Blu-ray, but it doesn't really matter. I think we've established there's a DVD version, there's a Blu-ray version, and while I don't remember exactly what I got before, and I really should watch it because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is kind of liked in that regard. Well, I don't know. I'm babbling, sort of. So, we got this on the front, this on the back. This is a Viz release. Huh. Well, now I wonder. I'm trying to remember where the hell on their boxes they usually say, oh yes, this has an English audio track. So, main feature, English and Japanese. I'm trying to read this up here. It says English subtitles, but I don't know. Stereo audio, there we go. I don't know if my eyesight's getting weird. It just felt like really weird printed. So if we take a look on the inside, let's see. We've got a lot of interesting art. Usually I try to write them up. It kind of always looked like he was out of Street Fighter. Well, that's cool. It's all cool stuff. But I suspect the Blu-ray release is more notable because it says something of a 104-page booklet and 6 art cards inside. So what I noticed is there's this weird feeling bump there. There's something very familiar about this packaging. I think, oh yeah, there's set 1 right there. I guess maybe first it was being released by somebody else and then it sat around for a while and then Viz started releasing it. Good for Viz. I mean, I wouldn't call them the perfect company per se, but I generally find what they do to be acceptable. Oh, nice. They get anime out, and it tends to be okay quality. Maybe not the best stuff, and other people may have their own preferences. That's pretty inside. And we're just taking a look at this, which, hold on. Okay, I guess just the background. We got, it looks like the discard is mostly the same, although the discard in this one is reflective. Oh wait, it's just the guy that looks like Guile. Ease stuff. And I'm going to put it in like this, even though it was in the other way for some reason. Let's see, we got Stardust Crusaders. This feels like the art cards, and as you know, I don't tend to open those unless Key Animation Collection. It's pretty cool, which pretty much means, you take a look at a lot of that stuff. It doesn't look completely Key Animation, because normally that has like specially colored something or the others to indicate something, I think. Or maybe I just have only seen a certain popular representation of them. Let's see. Next up we have Mobile Suit Gundam 00, first season on Blu-ray, which I do believe I don't have, which is why this was released. Although there might have been a first season version released as well, but I don't know. I make mistakes sometimes. And sometimes when I make those mistakes, my friends benefit because I just, you know, instead of dealing with, hey, I accidentally purchased this even though I already have it, I'm like, you know what, instead I could just give it to a friend who would really like it. But, I don't know, I digress. This has been a long video so far. Lots of stuff, lots of packaging kind of resisting. I think this is a total of like 15 items unless you include the manga, then it's 16. So yeah, I see a Region A down there. Kind of expected. Not much on the inside of that sloop. But that's okay. This is kind of repackaging except released on Blu-ray for the first time if I did things right. And stuff. Next up we have Assassination Classroom, the movie 365 Days Time. Which, the good, bad, and the killer times. Okay, killer times kind of suggests maybe this is a movie version of it or something. I'm not sure. All I know is, as a collector, I definitely had to get it. And I've got it, and yeah, whatever. Let's take a peek. Take a look. I see a Blu-ray, I see a DVD with the same images, and that looks like that same image that's on the DVDs and the Blu-ray. So this is probably like the promotional image for the movie and the image associated with the movie. Which I don't know if I would use as a, oh, this is a summary of the series sort of picture, which makes me wonder if that assumption is maybe incorrect. And last but not least, we have a Centaur's Life. Somebody said this was actually, I mean, it's Funimation released, Region A and B, and it's got an English dub, Japanese with English subtitles. Somebody said it was Chinese, but if it's Japanese dubbed, I kind of doubt it. She's a centaur of attention. Anyways, it's another interesting looking demi-human one, which I guess this is one of this week's curiosities. The other one was In Another World with a Smartphone. Maybe if I caught up on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I'd actually be excited, because I think this isn't season 2 when it starts going a bit bonkers and it's a little more fun. Cool. Felt like there was something on the back there, but there's something about this picture that's just strange. Not in a bad way, just like, I don't know. It feels off in an amusingly interesting way. So maybe this will be like Interview with Monster Girls. Although it's very clearly Centaur is the center of attention this time. Yeah. Alright. Finally, after going through all of that, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Alright, let's see. Last time I had been watching Akashic Records of Bastard Magic Instructor, and, you know, I've been able to stick with and finish everything that I've started so far, so I guess you could say that's a good thing for all the anime this past week so far. So with this, I think it's about where I was describing it as last time. I guess I don't remember if I said this in the last video, but I would kind of describe this one as surprisingly okay. I mentioned there were some problems with it that made it where it didn't do as good of a job as other things that have tried to do similar sort of stuff. And even not comparing it to that stuff, there's little things that it does on its own that don't quite feel properly fleshed out, or whatever the word is. But I don't know, I'm trying to make sure I don't spoil by saying anything, but basically this wasn't a very complete core or season, so it's the sort of thing where I think you'd want to see more. I wouldn't say I'm particularly excited myself. Like, they introduced this character who has this really, I guess they were trying to go for interesting smile, but for me, it was an off-putting smile just because there was, the character's there to say, oh, there's this big thing going on, but it doesn't even really feel like it's teasing. It just kind of feels like it's unattainable and out of reach, and I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it is one of those, I think the anime itself didn't portray that quite right. It had a couple of other weird things back and forths, but overall it felt like they had a couple ideas for the personality of the main character, and they didn't quite mesh together perfectly. One was interesting in one way, the other was interesting in a different way, and one of those two ways is basically one I don't care as much about, but I could see other people really liking, because it really was very anti thing from thing. It was a very anti-trope-ish, but not completely so, such that you could predict what it was going to do based on what tropes it was and was not following. It introduced a system. It didn't really capitalize on the idea it introduced. So again, it's weird. And of course, you can kind of tell it would be weird because, that's a really weird choice of school uniform. Especially considering the guys aren't dressed like that. So, yeah. Overall, it was okay. I wouldn't call it personal best. I wouldn't be surprised if other people really liked it. But I've definitely seen things that I think did the same general ideas better. Next up, I watched Kenkabancho Otome, or Girl Beats Boys. And it was okay. It's one thing that surprised me is this is 12 episodes on one disc, and when I realized that, and this is Funimation, and they do, yeah, that is Funimation. They don't really pack things onto a disc like Discotek does, I guess, for example. Discotek can kind of go for simpler, cheaper releases. But even still, 12 episodes on a single disc seems unheard of unless they weren't full-length 20-minute episodes or double-length or anything like that. And yeah, no, they're like 5 to 10-minute episode length or minutes per episode or something. Because I think 8 minutes was, oh yes, it did the opening and it did the closing. So maybe more like, yeah, maybe closer to 10 minutes than to 5 minutes, given stuff. And content-wise, the setup is highly questionable. But the execution from there is kind of interesting. Especially because they're smaller and it's kind of going through stuff that would be normally covered in the same pace as 12 episodes if they were full length, but it's doing it in a third the length. It's going after them a certain way, and it's missing certain things that would have been really great. A lot of the socialization of the characters in between stuff might have been kind of neat. But it pretty much means that it gets to action quicker than you would think it would. And the pacing didn't feel off for some reason. Maybe part of it is that the show approaches the contents of the episode or the series from a sort of... It's like events aren't necessarily as tied together as they could have been directly. Instead, it's kind of done through this interesting thing, like the characters are being interviewed between stuff. It sort of reminds me a little bit of either the beginning or the end of that one anime, which was just about a girl being bitten by vampire Bishonen and stuff. It's very fetishy. I can't remember its name. What use am I if I can't remember the name I'm comparing stuff to? So it kind of reminds me of the beginning and the ending of that, except it's more integrated into this series, and it's more than just, you know, a fetish. It's playing with an idea, and you're like watching this, that resolve, this stuff. It's got a lot of the Shoujo stuff thrown in there. It just kind of doesn't feel as slice of life-ish as I guess it could have. No, just simply kind of documentary-ish. So it makes me think it would be interesting if this had been a movie instead of 12 episodes, and maybe that's kind of what it is anyways. I don't know. Next up, I watched Sakura Quest Part 1. So this is, of course, the first core of it, and I have to say, it ends at a pretty poor point. And I'm not sure if there's going to be a good point for it to transition between Part 1 and Part 2, just because it's a little episodes flowing into each other. So no matter where you do, you're going to chop, and something is not completely socially resolved. They're in the middle of stuff, and it ends at a kind of place where it's like, well, I do want to see what happens next. Content-wise, it's hard to tell what I think, because there's these kind of slice of lives where the characters are just doing stuff, and I don't find it as engaging, but I can't really say it's non-engaging. It's just not engaging to me in some way. Like, I'm trying to think if maybe No No Biyori is a really good example of one that doesn't catch my attention as strongly as some other things that I've talked about. I mean, even Figure 17 is like, that one's a weird slice of life that just, I think it engages me because of its surprising realism. Like, if you watch that compared to another anime, you'll kind of realize a lot of kind of, oh, this is just a slice of life about characters. How it even still feels a little artificial in a way. Maybe Flying Witch could be another example of a slice of life that doesn't catch my attention as much. All in all, that basically comes down to, it doesn't excite me, but it doesn't put me off. It just sort of is. And fortunately, when something just sort of is and is dubbed, I can of course keep going through it no problem, assuming there isn't something else driving me in a different direction. And that's a whole lot of negative commentary about it. So content-wise, it's interesting because it kind of sets up this thing where it's about tackling the idea of, or the problem of small country towns in Japan aging and having less people in them because people move out to go to the city and they never come back. And I've seen this as an issue in a couple of anime, and the way they approach it is one of those things where you kind of know that's a real problem in real life, so they're expressing stuff in here which may actually be historically accurate. I don't really know. And it's all about ideas of trying to get this stuff to work, and that's, I think, where it gets down. This is a slice of life show that says, oh, you know, if somebody came up with a really good idea, it is possible that it could be expressed in this show. But that's the trick. You have to come up with it. It's kind of similar to the problem of Eden of the East, where it's like, oh, well, all these characters have been given money and they have to come up with a unique idea that kind of solves what is considered problems of the world. They may have to make an impact on humanity or something like that. I don't remember the exact words, but the entire point is, when you create an anime with that purpose and you have a main character and
you don't have a way to make it drag on forever, then it becomes a question of, can you convincingly portray an idea that makes people satisfied having watched it. And that's really hard. There's even a lot bigger shows that also do the same sort of thing. Naruto is a really good example where it talks about the inherent hatred of the ninja world, the cycle of hatred or something like that. And there's a good question of, can they, what can they come up with? And the truth of the matter is, there's some good content in there. There's some over-the-top, bizarre, mal-focused sort of stuff in there as well. But there's an arc that definitely hits that central point really well, and that's, I think, why a lot of people like that arc, because it themes correctly, and even if it's not one of those things that you could say, oh yes, that's definitely an answer, it's very convincing for the scenario that was set up. And this is a show that kind of sets itself up where you want it to, you may want it to be that. I think that's the issue and why I sometimes don't connect. It's because I want to see what interesting ideas this show comes up with, and this one's kind of coming up with a lot more slice of lifey show or ideas and things happening sort of ideas, and there's nothing necessarily bad about that. It's actually got a good variety of things it does. It doesn't leave you sitting there thinking, oh, this is just about a bunch of 5 girls who just futz around doing absolutely fucking nothing. You know, you don't feel that. You feel like there's genuine effort involved. You just don't know if you'll be convinced that the efforts work, but the anime kind of knows that. So as a slice of life, that basically means this one is definitely way more. You just have to be able to enjoy the characters just doing whatever stuff they're doing. And I guess for me, because I like having stories told, I just miss that big target that isn't really there. So, you know, overall, I would have gone on to the second part if I had it. So it's good in that regard. But I don't, so I have to wait. And of course, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out between now and then. Here's hoping I can actually remember a damn thing, because as you can see, my memory is doing whatever. And last but not least, I started watching Haruka Nogizaki's Secret. And it's okay, I guess. You can kind of tell that the animation budget is a little on the lighter side. They do perfectly fine with what they have. It strikes me as something more out of the 90s than a lot of other stuff, if that's right. Is Sister Princess kind of 90s? I don't know. I'm not saying the animation is exactly like Sister Princess, because I don't remember that exactly, but it kind of reminds me of that sort of series where it's like, okay, they don't have a big budget to make a girl go ooh or something like that, so instead they've got characters, they've got ideas. I like the creation of the main character and some of the dilemma he's set up with. They're common things, but they also, in their commonality, don't tend to be approached as much. And I don't think it holds very strongly to those, but it holds close enough that it's kind of interesting. But it kind of also means that outside of that and his friend that was obsessed with clumsy magical girl person, a lot of the characters feel a little artificial. I mean, actually I should say that our main 2 characters feel a little artificial, and a lot of the side characters feel completely artificial, where it's like he bumps into this girl in the street in a situation, whatever, and you can tell there was enough effort put in there that there's going to be something notable happening later that involves her. And I say this as from the perspective that I haven't seen her again since then. I'm only 4 episodes in, so maybe I'm incorrect in that regard, but I don't think so. They put some weird detail in there. Anyways, I think a really good example is her little sister and the way she interacts with the main guy, where I'm not it almost feels like similar to people acting, and you kind of feel like they're acting and not like they are the people they're trying to portray. There's kind of a level of disconnect there where you can just kind of feel, I don't know why the little sister would joke about that sort of thing per se, and it feels more like a convenient setup to have something happen as opposed to that's just the way the character is. So it's weird. I'm going to actually try and finish at least this first season because first episode was pretty decent, although I did hate a lot of characters in the show. Mostly background characters are like, wow, what a bunch of fucking assholes. They should all be strangled. The second episode is when it started going down. It's played with the dynamic just enough to make me think that it isn't a one-trick pony with no ideas. I'm not expecting anything super big out of it, but I'm kind of curious. It's nice to revisit one of these kind of shows because I tend to go for shiny things that are in front of me. And I kind of mentioned before why this looked like a shiny, I guess, but I don't know. That's all a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth noting. Because I think I showed Mario Tennis Aces last time. And there's some elements of it that are kind of bullshit. Like lobbing and making those really short shots. There's an issue where that same button is also used to do certain jumps towards balls that might have been normally out of your reach, I guess. And I guess there's an issue with those being the same button and being done through different button combinations, in that especially certain things where you're supposed to do a lot of lobbing, you can kind of see, okay, I need to lob it far in the far right corner, okay, that's good. I need to hit it close in the close left, yeah, there you go. And it doesn't always feel like it's doing that, and I keep not being able to consistently get it to happen, which only causes me to press the buttons again, which only causes my character to then jump. So I don't know, it feels like there's a little something off with the controls there. Maybe I can change those, maybe I don't want to change those, but there's like little things like that where they create these mini games that are based off of these things, and whatever. I can't think of any other video game related stuff. I know that July 6th, which I guess is Friday, is when the next Pokemon event distribution happens, and I don't know if that's at GameStop or not. I don't know. My mind's pretty blank. Maybe something about I started watching Index Season 2 with my brother. It's a rewatch for me. It's a watch for him. And there's something satisfying about it compared to the first Index. I think first Index, you can kind of watch it and feel like it hasn't completely thought out certain things yet. Maybe by Index 2 it had completely decided what it was doing, or maybe by then it had a bigger budget and more time. I'm not sure, because Index 3 is coming out soon, isn't it? But yeah, watching that with my brother. If I haven't mentioned, I've been keeping up a little bit with Steven Universe, and the last couple of episodes have been completely spectacular. Like, I don't know what I want to say because it might be too spoiler for me to say what is immediately coming to mind. So, I don't know. Basically, I watched the episode that came out yesterday, July 2nd, not the one that came out today. But it looks like the series has gone, oh, we're getting close to the end of the season, so things have been kicked into overdrive with spectacular storytelling. Because I think the off stuff like that is actually kind of neat, because it's developing the world, and sometimes the elements it's developing kind of come back in ways you just don't expect. I was just trying to think if I should comment or not, but I guess I'm not going to. Just saying, I'm really enjoying what I watch. They do a good job making that show. Is there anything else? I watched some Batman the Animated Series with that friend. There's some neat stuff in there. Yeah, that's enough said. Alright, y'all, have a nice week and a festive 4th of July.